Many years ago when I first got into candle making, I thought it was gonna be a breeze, right? There can't be too much to these little things. A little bit of wax, some dye, fragrance oil, a wick, and that's it, right? No, couldn't have been further from the truth. It's actually really freaking hard. So in today's episode, I wanna break down 3 different things that every new candle maker should do almost exclusively right away when they begin their journey. Let's dive in. Hello, my name is Kevin. Welcome back to Armitage Candle Company, the premier online resource for accelerating your candle making technique and business. The first piece of advice that I want to give every candle maker is that you should make at least 84 candles and give almost all of them away. This is called the 84 candle rule, and I've covered that in a separate video, a kind of a controversial video. Now, there's a lot of right answers, right? You don't have to do this to learn candle making, but I think this is a good way. So here's how it works. When you start out, you will make a roughly 80 candles. Throughout that journey, you'll try different waxes, different wicks, different containers, a few different things, different fragrance oils. And by the end of that point, you'll be equipped and ready as a candle maker to pursue the next level. When you're first starting out, it's distracting to try to say, I'm gonna start a candle business and just pour all of your energy into that, because you're not just at that point learning candle making, you're also trying to learn candle business. And for most of us, we don't come from some sort of background where we're used to this crafting entrepreneurial life. We're trying to learn 2 different things at once, and it can be very hard to do both well. So by focusing on building out and pouring 80 candles, you're going to give yourself the best chance of being able to focus on the business stuff second, after you've got a good grasp on the habits, routines, equipment, and supplies required to actually pour good candles. Number 2 is stay organized in a way that works for you. There's a lot going on with candle making. You're not only negotiating different supplies and equipment, you're also building a process for creating these candles, and then you have the testing on the back end of that. You're trying to organize a lot of different information about how you're conducting yourself. And if you have a business on top of that, that's another layer of complexity. So one of the things that I encourage everybody who gets into the craft to do is start to build kind of a standard system for how you want to approach these different items. A big part of that is notes. How am I tracking all of the different components that I'm putting into the candles? What are the ID numbers that I'm assigning to these things? Like, how do I know what I even made when I put this thing together, so that I can A, repeat the process, or B, treat it as a non-success? I don't use the word failure a lot in candle making, because non-success is a better word, because you're learning how to not make a candle. There's way more ways to not make a candle well than there are to make a candle well. If you're trying to pour any candles, you know this. It's extremely difficult to find that wick that burns safely and performs well and does exactly what you're hoping for. So data is your friend. So non-successes are just as good as successes, and your system helps you track what you're doing. Hey, when I poured that candle at 170 degrees Fahrenheit, that turned out really bad. But the same test later, when I poured it at 130, it was awesome. How are you going to know that if you don't have some sort of system? Some people use spreadsheets. Some people use pen and paper. I used pen and paper for a long time. And some people use MoonLite, which is a good time for me to introduce the sponsor of this video. MoonLite is a candle making software to help you accelerate all the different components of your business. It helps you create recipes. These are the designs of your candle. Now, there's a lot of math that goes into how much of each supply do I need, depending on the recipe and the batch size. Well, MoonLite automates all of that. It makes it super easy to know exactly what's going in, and it's also a great system for tracking your notes. It's all in one place. It automatically creates IDs. It helps you with the production notes, and it helps you with the cure times, so that you don't have to try to remember all this stuff or have some sort of complicated spreadsheet or piece of paper. I used that stuff for a long time. And then when MoonLite came out, which is created by Armitage Candle Company, it transformed the way that I organize and systematize my business. My last piece of advice for new candle makers is that you're gonna see a lot of candles out in the world, and it's gonna make you feel insecure. You're gonna wonder about certain things. Hey, if Yankee Candle can sell their candle for $8, how in the world am I supposed to ever build that candle? Or maybe you're on Facebook and you're scrolling through the groups and you see these people with these beautiful setups, and you're like, man, my stuff looks like some sort of back alley workshop cobbled together with all the stuff in my kitchen. Don't worry about it. It's easy to play the comparison game. I do it all the time myself. But my advice to you is to say, hey, you're not necessarily competing with Yankee Candle. You're not competing with Bath and Body Works. They're selling a commodity. You're selling a story. You're selling art. You're an artisan. Remember that. You're creating candle that is there. When's the last time you went to a fair and Bath and Body Works set up their shop right next to anybody else in that thing? Nobody, never. It's never happened, right? They sell in stores. They sell big box stores, right? That's their game. You're playing a different game. And the same thing is with other candle makers. They're all trying to make their way through this thing. And you're maybe watching someone who's 3 levels ahead of where you're eventually going to be if you stick with it. So try to learn from them rather than compare yourself to them, right? Be inspired by them. Remember, you're not competing with them. Everybody in this community is actually really positively, for the most part, in it with each other, right? We like to lift up other makers. We like to see what you're working on. I love to see what you're working on, right? I don't see myself as competing with you. But when you're playing that comparison game, it can be a big morale drag, and it can make you sad about things, and maybe you give up because you're never going to be like those other people. Well, don't try to be like those other people. Try to be you. That's the best advice I can give anyone starting out. Just stay and play your game. Enjoy what you enjoy. Make your weird wax blend. Oh, well, that's working for them, but this is working for you. Well, that's okay. Let that work for them and just focus on the stuff that you like to focus on. Anyways, that's all I have for you. I hope that some of this was helpful, useful, or insightful. I'll see you in the next episode.